Hi, everyone. Today, we are going to have a learning target of solve problems with large numbers. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of problems today, and then I'm going to have you work some out yourself, kind of like we've been doing. Okay. As always, if you need to use the virtual manipulatives for math that we've been using this week, you're welcome to do so. I just want to remind you that by the end of the year, I want you doing these problems by using the equation. So do your best to kind of pull away from that, and then make sure that you get the in-part strategy down really well, because I want you to have that really well when you go to third grade. Okay. So here is our first problem, and I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll determine what we need to do. So it says, Donna A. has an art kit with 188 markers. Some of the markers were out of ink, so she threw them away. And now she has 149 markers left. How many markers did she throw away? Okay. So what we know when we first read this is that we are going to use our UPS strategy first to help us to understand and make our plan for this problem. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to circle the numbers. So let's go back and look at this, and as we do that, we'll circle the numbers. So it says Donna A. has an art kit with 188 markers. And if you notice, I took 188 and I've highlighted that in blue. That's my way of circling it for you. Some of the markers were out of ink, so she threw them away. And now she has 149 markers left. I've highlighted that one in blue. How many markers did she throw away? The second thing we do is we underline the question, and I've done that right here with how many markers did she throw away? The third thing we do is we have to determine whether this is an addition or subtraction by looking at that action word and seeing how is it used in that sentence. So here, our action word is through, and I've highlighted that in red, but let's read the whole sentence so that we can get to determine whether this was addition or subtraction. And it says, some of the markers were out of ink, so she threw them away. What I want you to do is make a movie of that in your head. And when you make a movie of that in your head and you're throwing something away, you're getting rid of it. Therefore, you know that you're going to be subtracting. Okay. The fourth thing we do is we write an equation. And this is what your equation should look like for this particular problem. Okay. Now, I have 188. That's how many markers Donna A. had. And then she threw some away. We don't know how many that is. That's our X. And then it equals 149 is what she has left. Notice I use the X in place of where the numbers should be. Until now, we've always either put a box, or we've used a question mark, or we've put a blank line there. This is a math language alert. In math, instead of using a line, or a question mark or a blank, mathematicians use letters like X to hold the place of a number. Since we don't know what that number is called, we call it a variable. And all the word variable means is that we don't know what that number is, and that it could be any number that's out there that's on the number line. It could vary. And since we don't know what that number is, we can't give it a value. We can't put a number in its place yet. So the word variable comes from the word vary. And I want you to start using X just like big mathematicians do, because you're about to be in third grade. So let's say that I solved this problem and the answer was 5. all I would do is I would put x equals 5, and you'll see me do that. And that just means that where that x is in that problem, I would just take whatever that number is that it equals, put it in there, and it would make that sentence or that equation a true statement. Okay, so let's go back to looking at our equation here. Remember, too, whenever you look at an equation, whatever there is on the right side of the equation over here, I have to have that same amount on the left side of the equation. So if I have 149 over here, then I have to have 149 over here. Right now, I have 188 over here and 149 over here. So with that, I know I'm going to subtract. Now, to find this out, there's a couple of ways I can do this. I can take 188 and I could count backwards to 149 and see how many are in that I counted backwards in the number line. That would be work. But I want you to try to do this by in-part strategy with equations. So let's try that. So what we're going to do is I am going to look here, and we are going to do this. I have done this, so we're going to do this a little bit at a time. So I have 188 minus 49, because if I take away the 149 from this equation, what I'm left with is what I need to subtract from the 188 to give me 149. So we're going to do that now. 188 minus, we're going to subtract the ones first, and I'm going to decompose this number into two different equations that we're going to do. I want you to notice what happens when I do that. So 188 minus 8. I'm going to take 8 of these because I see that I have 8 here. And so that makes a pretty easy problem. And I end up with 188, okay, by subtracting just 8 of those ones. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to subtract one more of that. So let's look at this one. So here I have 180, and I'm going to minus 1, which will give me 179. Notice when I did that not only did the ones place change, but the tens place changed too. I still subtracted 9, which was what my ones were, but I did it over 2 equations. Now I'm going to subtract my tens. I have 179, and I'm going to minus the 40 that I see here. And I will end up with 139, because I know that 70 minus 40 will give me 30. And none of my other numbers changed, if you notice. Next, I'm going to subtract the hundreds. So I have 139 minus 100 gives me 39. And that will give me my answer to my question, which is 39. So my x equals 39. Notice how I just wrote that. X equals 39. Instead of just boxing in my number of 39, I went ahead and wrote x equals 39. It's just another way to display an answer. It's kind of how mathematicians do it, so we're going to do it that way. Now that I've done this, I just need to write my sentence, and I don't know what happened to it. So my sentence would be, Donna A threw away 39 markers. Okay? And that is the first problem. Let's try another one here. So here's going to be our problem, and we'll go and try this one. Notice too on that last one that my sentence addressed what was happening in the first problem. Okay, so here's my problem, and it says Darwin read his book for a total of 295 minutes in 3 days. On day 1, he reads for 132 minutes. On day 2, he reads for 127 minutes. How many minutes did he read on day 3? We're going to have to use UPS on this. We should also notice that we're going to have a multi-step problem. Multi-step, meaning we're going to have more than one equation that we're going to have to solve to get the answer. So whenever we know that we have a word problem, we know that we have to use UPS. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to circle those numbers. So let's go through and we'll circle those numbers. Darwin read his book for a total of 295 minutes. I've highlighted that in blue. That's the number. In 3 days. On day 1, he reads for 132 minutes. Highlighted that number. And on day 2, on the second day, he reads for 127 minutes. How many minutes did he read on day 3? So I've highlighted my numbers. The second thing I do is underline the question. How many minutes did he read on day 3? So I know I'm looking for the third day. Number 3, the next thing I do is determine whether it's an addition or subtraction problem. And I figure out which word is the action word. Well, he's reading, and so that's the action word. And so when you're reading and you're counting up your minutes, if I understand this, I'm doing this in my head and I'm reading and I'm counting up my minutes, I'm adding those to a reading log. If I'm adding those minutes to a reading log, then I know I'm doing an addition problem. So therefore, I'll be adding. Fourth thing I do is I write the equation. So let's look at what the equation is. All right. My equation is 132 plus 127 plus x equals 295. Whenever you have that multi-step problem, then we're going to use parentheses. That's these little jobbies right here. That is parentheses to tell us which part of the problem we want to do first. Okay? This is a math language alert. I want you to pay attention. Mathematicians use the parentheses to tell them which equation they're going to do first in the math problem. The parentheses is not always on the first equation. Sometimes it could be on your second equation. Wherever the parentheses are in the problem, what is inside the parentheses is the equation you do first. And we're going to start using these so that you are ready and can recognize this when you get to be in 3rd grade, okay? So let's look at step 1. So step 1, we are going to do this part of the equation first. So I'm going to take 132 plus 127, and I'm going to add that in parts. So let's start by adding the ones place. Okay, so I have 132 plus 7 will give me 139. Notice the only place that changed is the ones place in this. We're going to do the tens place now. And that will be 139 plus 20. Notice I'm getting my 20 from here. And that place has, the only place that's changed is the tens place. So 139 plus 20 gives me 159. Now we're going to add the hundreds place. 169, or 59, that should be 59. 159 plus 100 gives me 259. Okay. So I'm going to just take that 259 and put it back in the parentheses, and so that I can do my step 2. So I've done that here just to show you that nothing changes. The parentheses just tell your reader, me or whoever else, that you did a problem, an equation that was within that. That's all that means right now. So 259 plus, remember, x is the number we don't know what it is. That would be a blank there normally, equals 295. Okay, so we're going to look now at our step 2. Okay, what I do have to know at this point, let's talk about that, is one, that both sides have to equal 295. The right side is already 295. The left side does not have 295 yet. There are a couple of ways that I can figure out how to get to this 295, which will give me that answer. The first way would be if I was going to put it on a number line and count it up from 259, make those jumps and count it to get to 295. The second way is I can take 295, go ahead and subtract my 259, and that will tell me what is here that I can add to 259 to give me 295. Remember, this is a lot like fact families. And you have that in your book that I sent home with you as well that you can use. So we're going to go ahead and do the second one that I talked about, where we're going to take the 295 and we're going to subtract the 259. Because I really want you guys to see that you can do this and we can practice our subtraction real well of m parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract this 9. But I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I'm going to decompose that 9 to be a 5 and a 4. And so the first time we're going to subtract 4 of those. So we're going to subtract 5, sorry. 259, I guess I left that step off here. So 295 minus 5 will give me 290, okay? And you can see where the only thing that changed is this number right here. When I did this, if you'll notice, I minus that 5, and the only thing that happened was I changed that ones place, okay? On the second step there, we have 290, And when we take 290, I want you to notice that two numbers changed when we subtracted this 4. We had both the 0 and the 9 changed. So both the 10s and the 1s changed on that one. All right. Now, the next one we're going to do is the 10s place. And here I have 286 minus 50. Okay, I can do that in one step. And I have 236 is what my answer is there. I'm going to take 236 and I'm going to subtract 200, and I'm going to end up with 36 as my answer. So when I write it, I'm going to put x equals 36. I didn't color code this one, and I hope you guys were able to still see it. If you had problems, let me know. I'll be happy to run it through with you color coded, because I have a copy of it color coded, but I didn't color code it for y'all. All right. So once I've done that, now I need to write my sentence. And my sentence is Darwin read 36 minutes on his third day. Okay, guess what? It's time for you guys to do your own. I've got an assignment that I have posted on our page, as well as it's posted in the Google Classroom. So go ahead and give that a shot yourself. Thanks, guys. Sure do miss you. Bye.